Welcome back to our special summer series where we're embarking on a journey back in time to explore some of the key moments and timeless insights from our previous episodes. This week we're revisiting an enlightening conversation with the fantastic Dipali, a dentist and business owner featured in episode 3. Her story continues to resonate with us and we're excited to share the highlights with you today. Join us as we journey through Dipali's captivating experiences, from infusing her passion for interior design into her dental practices to navigating the challenges of managing people. Throughout this episode, we'll dive deep into her wisdom on maintaining work-life harmony, empowering others, and embracing new beginnings. But we're not just here to reminisce, we're here to learn and grow. Dipali's journey is a powerful testament to the incredible heights one can reach when they dare to follow their dreams. So if that sounds good to you, fantastic, Dipali and I will see you in the show. Enjoy.
What about the I don't know, perhaps more ad hoc or exciting activities or responsibilities that, aren't happening on an average day or in an average week, but, they do fall under your remit?
So an example of something like that would be, we decided to move premises. We took one of our old sites was too small and we were outgrowing it. And it was evident that, we could do more as a business. But the premises themselves were restricting us. And we decided to move site, which was a 2-year-long project. And if you've ever been involved in a building project, it's got nothing to do with dentistry and everything to do with it being a building project. It was, dealing with plumbers and electricians and builders and all the problems at the site throughout, daily, the challenges. And then actually physically moving premises, getting ready, both in the way that, I kind of enjoy interior design as a hobby. So it was for me designing the new practice. And that was fun. It was an ad hoc thing and it took a few months, but it was so much fun. And that wasn't part of kind of my regular day. So that kind of thing is always interesting.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's great, isn't it? Because I have to say, if I thought about dentistry as a profession, I probably wouldn't have thought about that, you doing interior design as part of that. But how exciting that, I guess the business management side of the role throws up all these opportunities to get involved in other things.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow,
because I enjoy the interior design, my focus for the business has really been to try and modernize the practices and kind of incorporate design and dentistry, because I just feel like most dental practices out there are quite sterile, quite clinical looking and really very boring in terms of appearance. So, but they don't need to be like that. We are a business for people, so why shouldn't it look like that? Why shouldn't it feel like that? That I'm sort of slowly refurbishing each of the business or each of the sites, and I won an award for interior design last year for one of my dental practices, which was quite nice actually. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Well done. And like you say, it is something that we need to get done, but there's nothing to say that we can't have it done in a nice environment, which actually probably helps ease all of the things we were talking about before with regards to anxiety and so on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, what's most challenging about your role?
My business partner is my husband, and the most challenging thing for us is drawing a line between us as business partners and us as, life partners. And the lines become so blurry, and, work goes home with you and home comes to work with you. If we've had an argument at home and we're not talking to each other at home, we do have to talk to each other at work. And it's quite funny because the minute we get home, we're not talking again, but we've been talking all day. That becomes really challenging. I think where it impacts on your relationship and there's no way to separate the two. I think I found that really challenging over the years.
Yeah, I can imagine. And what about for a dentist who perhaps isn't working with their partner? What do you think they might find challenging about the job or the profession?
I think that the stress of managing people, even as patients, can be overwhelming at the best of times. And I do think there's a lot of, I think they're ill prepared when they come out from university. They have this very single-minded vision of what dentistry is. You go in, you treat patients, you go home. And actually, as a profession, we're evolving so quickly, compared to other industries, that they are expected to rise up and meet challenges that they're ill prepared for. Now, whether that's clinically, how to upskill, how to provide treatments in this new world where people are making all kinds of demands on them, where they're, having their teeth straightened and all of that. These are not things we learn as an undergraduate, but are eventually expected to learn as soon as we start practicing, or we'll find that there's no place for us in this world, because we don't have the right skill set. And I think that it's also the other facets to our role. We are managing patients, we're managing the team, our nurse, all of those little aspects. Actually, no one teaches you them, and even social media. If we want to create a professional profile for ourselves, we need to be photographers and social media influencers and all these other things that actually no one taught us to do. So I think that's the challenge. It's evolving in this new professional world of ours.
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting. And I think, to your point, I think when you grow up, and certainly if I think about going to the dentist as a child and a teenager and a young adult, it was more around going to get something fixed or checked. Whereas, when I see and read and hear about dentistry, we are now seeing lots of, procedures that are about enhancing what you've got or changing what you've got. So it's now almost more holistic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And new treatments are emerging every day that dentists can now kind of incorporate under their belt. Facial aesthetics. So there are so many more avenues open to us as professionals to develop and progress it. But these are not things that are talked about at an undergraduate level, which is such a shame. Because I mentor new graduates for the last 12 years. Every year, we're given a new graduate to train and mentor and practice. It's like having a child. And you get given this child every September, and you don't know if it's going to be a girl or a boy. And when you find out, you get excited. But then also, you get given this fresh new mind to mold and to teach and to inspire. And I think that can be quite... I love that side of my role, but also it can be quite challenging because, like I said, they come out very single-minded at university, and it's teaching them dentistry is so much more than just what you've learned in university.
Yeah, that's just a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, well, let's take a look at your journey, because I want to hear where it all began. So when you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
My parents are both doctors. We're obviously Indian. Our heritage is Indian, and they're both doctors. And you might not know this, but every Indian person out there will know that their generation is a lot more small-minded than, say, our generation, and they believe that the best thing that you could be would be a doctor, and then the second best thing you could be was a dentist, and then there were the accountants. And anything after that, well, it wasn't even worth telling your friends about, So it was a question of pride for my parents that I went to university and did medicine. So that was a bit of an argument in our household. I didn't want to do medicine. I'd seen their lives growing up, and how taxing it was on family life. And I didn't want that. I didn't want to choose that. So dentistry was a compromise between us. And I'm the kind of person that I wasn't very strong-minded as a young person. I didn't know my own mind or have the confidence to speak up. So when my parents said, this is what you should do, I very much said, yes, fine. I never really spoke back or protested in any way. And I'm much more different now as an adult. But if I hadn't been a dentist, I probably would have been a teacher or something in economics, something like that. That's probably where I was headed if I didn't do dentistry.
Yeah. Wow. And what about, I guess, before the expectations of others set in? Did you have any wild childhood dreams that you want to share with us?
Not especially. I was a very boring person growing up. I wasn't taught to really have hopes and dreams. I was just told, you'll grow up, you'll do this, you'll find a nice boy at the right age, and he'll be the right kind of person, the right kind of professional. You'll get married and you'll have children. I mean, my whole life was mapped out for me, and I never really, I never had dreams that were bigger than that. I never understood actually that the world is this huge place and there's so much opportunity out there. I never really understood it. And I feel quite sad about that when I think about it, because I've got 3 little girls now, and I want them to know everything the world has to offer, because it's an amazing, amazing place we live in, and why shouldn't they?
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about what you'd wish you'd known when you were younger a bit later, and I'm really looking forward to that part of the conversation. And when you were going through this journey of being a general practitioner working for someone else to, starting the business yourself, talk to us about the thoughts, the feelings and the lessons learned with that massive transition.
Both of us knew that, I think when you work for someone else and you can see how they treat staff, or what low morale there is in the workplace, or you can see how you could improve things. It's very frustrating then to work for somebody else when you think, I could probably do this better. No disrespect, but I just think sometimes, especially the older people who've owned businesses for a long time, they have a different way of thinking. They're a little bit jaded, a bit cynical, and not necessarily as forward thinking as the business as a whole needs them to be. So I understood his desire to own his own practice, but it was difficult because I knew the upheaval it would have on our lives as both as a couple and as professionals. And I was, and inherently, I'm someone that is afraid of the unknown. And this was unknown territory, one that neither one of us were trained to take on, not qualified. I mean, we didn't know business management. We didn't know people management or HR or any of those things. And yet here we are buying a practice and inheriting about 15 staff who all looked at us and said, what should we do now? And we said, I don't know. What do you think we should do now? And I still remember walking into the business that first day, just a little bit, just completely mind blown, have no idea what we're doing. And there were reps from different service providers waiting for us because they knew the business was changing hands. They wanted us to, wanted to secure contracts. And we were on, and then they walked in, and we didn't even know anybody. And they were there waiting for us saying, could you sign here? You need to have a contract for clinical waste. If you don't have one, you could get shut down. And we didn't know what to ask. And so we signed on the dotted line very naively, entering into contractual periods and we didn't get the best price or the best service. But at that time, we didn't know any different. So it's a very steep learning curve. You learn very quickly. You make a lot of mistakes along the way, and you hope none of them will kind of sink you. You just muddle through each and every day. You just fight fires every day. That's what it felt like for the first few years.
So how did you go about learning and developing those skills to be able to run the practice?
So we inherited a manager who was very, very inefficient and poor at her job, and we let her go. And for the first 3 or 4 years of the business, I was the manager. And that meant long nights and working every minute in between seeing patients, because we were seeing patients full time at that time. We knew we needed to do that to make a living. And we couldn't, and the business model since then has now developed such that we are 90% business management. We have a team of dentists that work under us doing the clinical work. So we can, take a much more backseat business kind of view. But at the time we were doing the dentistry and we didn't hire another manager. I was the manager for 3 years, 4 years even. And what that meant is I learned the business from the ground up. And I wrote every policy, every regulation. I understood it. We broke everything down to really, truly understand it before we were then at a point where we can say, right, we can now teach someone else to do this. And the other thing I think we inherently never forgot is that people deserve to be treated like people. And to this day, we remember that. What does it feel like to be in their shoes And, we can't sit in our golden tower and enjoy the profits rolling in when really the people on the front line are unhappy. So I did every job in the practice. I was receptionist, I was nurse, and I was all of those roles. And even then, and even now, I'll spend time with each of those people, actually listening to what they think and feel, and how they're coping day to day, but also what their ideas are. How can they bring something new to the table? And it's often these people that are the most inspiring, and will, help you evolve as a business and as a person.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, that's good for you. There's a book, I can't remember who it's by at the moment, but called The Founder's Mindset. And there's 3 main tenets. And one of them is about, working on the front line. And so, doing each of those jobs. And then I think that, you can then have empathy for those people and hopefully be a better leader to them when you do step back in the future.
And I think also when things go wrong, you understand how to solve those problems. It's very easy to talk about how reception should deal with something without never having been on reception. And I think everyone should do that. And I have a rule in my business, is that I'm not going to ask someone to do it unless I'm prepared to do it myself first. So, most things I will do myself first, before I say, right, I'm now ready to let someone else do this. And I feel I then have the authority to speak to them and say, no, this is how we should do it, because I've done that role. And I feel that's more empathetic as well to their situation.
Yeah. So talk to us about moving from 1 practice to 4. How did that come about?
So I'm going to go back and mention my husband, who's extremely ambitious. And I always say being married to him is like, I bought 10 tickets for a roller coaster ride, and it's the worst roller coaster ride in the world. And just when you think it's coming to an end, he's like, no, we get another go. We've got another ticket, And it feels a little bit like that. Because every year since we've been married, we either bought a practice or extended a practice or moved a practice or bought a house or built a house or had a child. And, I feel like immense things happen, and you never get a moment to breathe. And that's just what living with him is like. So we bought the first one, and it's quite rural, our first practice, because kind of like a house, we could only afford something that was so rural. Anything closer to a city or in a city was so expensive and out of our, financial reach, that we had to buy something very rural, and which also meant moving very rurally away from, and I'm a London girl at heart. I grew up in a city, and I love the city. So when we moved to what I can only describe as a village, even though people call it a town, that was hard, because then that's the other thing. We had no friends, no family, no real kind of connection outside of work. And that was hard as well. But on that note, there was a practice that came up for sale. It was kind of the sister practice of the one we bought. It was owned by the previous owner's brother, and he wanted to sell. And my husband said, well, let's buy that. And I said, we just bought a practice like 3 months ago. We don't have the money and we don't have the time. We don't know what we're doing. How are we going to do this? And he said, no, I'm going to do this. And if we don't have the money, I'll find a way. I said, no bank's going to lend to us. We don't have anything to offer. And you know what? He's one of the cleverest people I've ever met. And what he did was he went to the owner and he said, I don't have the money to buy this and I can't get the finance to buy it. Would you lend me the money to buy your business?
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He organized a payment plan, and he said, I'll pay, a fifth of your business to you every year for the next 5 years, if you'll let me do that. And that's what he did. And we bought the second one, and we split up at that point, whereas I took charge of one and he took charge of the other. And we did that for about 8-9 years.
Yeah.
And all the while he was looking for more to buy. So, and we moved to Cambridge after having our children, or whilst having our children. So he wanted to buy something in Cambridge, closer to home and more local. And the next 2 practices happened kind of back to back. One of them in the middle of COVID, when the world was falling apart. And he said, look, there's a practice down the road. We should buy that. And I said, really? Because this is the worst time to think about buying a business. He said, it'll be fine. And then the next 2 happened in the last 18 months. So yeah, it's interesting being married to him. It's not always fun, but it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it does sound like a roller coaster. So I can't wait to hear what's next on the roller coaster ride. Tell us about, I guess, the highs, or what went smoothly or what was relatively easy.
The challenge was, I think that for me personally, the challenge was managing my life outside of work and managing a business. Because like I mentioned earlier, I'm married to my business partner. Work comes home with you. There's no boundary. There's, you share the worries. And yes, look, there's good bits. We understand each other very, very intimately when it comes to work, because we know exactly what certain things mean. The good, the bad, we get it. And so there's something, very, very inherently supportive of that. But the challenges are having navigated our relationship through all of that. But it's also having a family alongside. I've had 3 children in 5 years, and I came back to work a month in every time, even though I had C-sections each time. I came back to work within a month each time, because when you own a business, there's no switching off ever.
Yeah.
Your phone never stops ringing, your emails never stop pinging, you're never on holiday, not really. You're never away from your desk, not really. And everything is personal. You can't leave, for me anyway, you can't leave something at work because it means too much. And I think that's been the real challenge for me, is the expectation to manage both my home and my children and the business and my relationship, I think. Whereas my husband can be a bit more single-minded about the business and leave the home stuff, I think that as a woman, I've struggled with that side of things. Nothing prepares you for that either.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. It sounds like a lot to manage. And I guess it takes us down that can we have it all conversation, which would probably be another show. But thanks for sharing the challenge. What about if we think about, I guess, inherent talents or character traits or personalities? What do you think, what is suited to the profession in your opinion?
I think you've got to be a really, really strong communicator, because dentistry is about 60% communication, 40% clinical skill, because we work with people, anxious people. I think you have to be incredibly motivated and have a really strong mindset and mature. You have to be mature and understand that the profession, people demand it off of you. Toothache doesn't stop at 5 o'clock. And if you are looking for a 9-to-5 job, then this is not the job that you should be in. You have to genuinely care for people, like genuinely. Because I think that sometimes it's easy to lose sight of who you are and what you're doing. And bottom line is, you are here to help people. You have a duty of care. And even if they don't have the means to pay you, if they're in pain, then you should help them, because you have the capacity to do that. And I think that, you have to be resilient, like in any profession. I think you have to be quite resilient if you want to go the way. And we live in this world where legally, we're practicing very defensively. We're constantly worrying about being sued. And you have to have your wits about you. You have to be resilient, and you have to kind of be a bit of a survivor if you really want to make it and be a success at it, because anyone can do it, but to be good at it is a whole different thing.
So as we move towards wrapping up, what do you wish you'd known when you were starting out that you know now?
I think that I wish I'd known that the only thing that limits you is yourself. Your thoughts and your ambition is what it's self-limiting, really. And I didn't have any great ambition. I didn't have any great vision for myself for the future. I just thought I'd be a dentist and that's it. And now 15 years later, I cannot believe the kind of trajectory my career has taken and the path that it's taken. It's not something I thought would happen. So my advice to my younger self would be to keep an open mind, not be afraid of challenges, and also have the self-confidence to know that you'll be okay. You'll figure it out. Whatever it is, you'll figure it out. As long as you have a healthy sort of attitude, I think you'll be okay.
And to that young person starting out whose choices were quite limited to medicine or dentistry or accountancy, what would you say to that person now if you had the chance?
I'd say confident, have a better sense of self. I think instinctively you know what your strengths are and your weaknesses to a certain extent. I also think it's really, really difficult to put that kind of choice on a 16 or 17-year-old. I don't know what I want to have for dinner this week, tonight, let alone what I want to do next week. And a 16 and 17-year-olds, we're imposing upon them that we're forcing them to make a choice. Decide what you want to do professionally for the rest of your life now. And, for the next 30 or 40 years, you have to decide now. And it's a really difficult thing to put on them when they have such little awareness of what the world has to offer. So I'd say, look at different opportunities, and keep an open mind, but also have a strong sense of self. If you like or don't like something, then know that, understand it, and kind of back yourself, really. So, and see where it goes, but make sensible choices, make informed decisions rather than, silly ones. Don't go to university just because your friends are going there or something. That, be smart.
What's your favourite quote or inspirational expression that, keeps you going on the tough days?
I don't really have one, but oh, you know what? Actually, I say that, but me and my husband, whenever we've had a bad day at work or something has happened and we're like, wow, have no idea how we got through that. We thought this is the one, that's the one that's going to sink us. We'll often say to each other, well, it's fine, we'll die another day. It's like a James Bond reference, we'll die another day. So, you just keep going and think, well, what's the worst that can happen? You just keep going.
Yeah. Tomorrow is a new day.
Exactly. And you get to start again. So it's okay.
Yeah, the sun will come out tomorrow. Annie, the film.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining Dipali and I today. We really hope you enjoyed the show. If you gained any value out of the timeless insights we shared today, then do subscribe wherever you enjoy your podcasts and share with a friend or two. And if you have any questions, comments or suggestions, do get in touch with us. So until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and have a great week, whatever you're up to. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you next time.